Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dive into something really fascinating, this idea of expanding our awareness way beyond our own little personal bubble. Making that journey from just me to something much, much bigger. So, let's get into it.
All right, let's start with a big question, one that's going to frame everything we talk about. Just sit with this for a second. What if that constant need we all have, that need to be right, what if that's the very thing that's actually keeping you from seeing a much deeper truth?
So, the very first step on this path is figuring out how to see beyond the walls of our own perspective. And trust me, this is a huge shift in how we look at the world and, well, how we look at each other.
Now, we all know this feeling, right? It's our default setting. We have an opinion, someone disagrees, and what's our first instinct? To dig in our heels, to double down. We just automatically assume that the other person, they're just wrong. They're mistaken, they don't have all the facts, they're just not seeing it clearly like we are.
But something amazing happens when you actually genuinely try to understand where that other person is coming from. You start to realize, oh, wait a minute, this isn't about right and wrong, it's about perspective. It's about their unique vantage point. Our differences come from where we're standing, from our own experiences, and our own blind spots. And that realization leads to this pretty wild idea. Get this. What if, when you could truly and wholeheartedly understand every single perspective on a subject, what if, at that point, your own personal defended perspective just kind of dissolves? It just isn't necessary anymore. And that right there, that dissolving of the ego's need to be right, that is the doorway into what's called the universal perspective. It's a totally new way of seeing things, one that's open, that includes everything, and is just incredibly wide.
Okay, so to get a better handle on this, we're going to use this really powerful metaphor you see a lot in this kind of thinking, the other shore. So what does that actually mean? Traditionally, especially if you look at Buddhist ideas, the other shore is seen as a destination. It's a place you're trying to get to. It's like a heaven or nirvana, some kind of perfect, peaceful land that's totally separate from where we are right now. But here is the real game changer. A deeper way to look at it flips that whole idea on its head. The other shore isn't some place you go to. It's the territory that exists just outside your comfort zone. It's everything that's beyond the logic that only made sense to the person you used to be.
And that's the absolute key right there. This journey isn't about escaping your life to get somewhere else. It's about expanding your current reality to include something so much wider.
So if this universal perspective is the other shore, well, how do we actually get there? How do we cross what you might call the river of our own identity? And the answer is, well, it's not what you'd expect. It's not about trying harder or fighting your way across the water. It's actually about humility. It's about just loosening that white-knuckle grip you have on who you think you are and what you think you know.
And here's the beautiful paradox of the whole thing. The journey isn't separate from the destination. The very moment you can genuinely accept and understand all perspectives without feeling that need to defend your own, well, congratulations, you're already there. The acceptance is the arrival.
And when you're in that state, all the words we use to try and describe these big ideas, words like God, spirit, truth, they become kind of secondary. You know that old saying about the finger pointing at the moon? Well, you're not looking at the finger anymore. You're experiencing the moon.
Okay, so let's talk about what it actually feels like to be there, to exist in this state of acceptance, on this shoreless shore.
This really breaks it down perfectly. Think about it. On the old shore, life is one conflict after another. It's you versus me, it's right versus wrong. Your whole energy is spent defending what you believe. But on this new shore, it's about letting go. It's about breathing with the universe, not struggling against it. It's about seeing with its eyes, not just your own.
And it's so important to get this. This isn't just a cool idea to think about. It's not a philosophical puzzle you solve with your brain. It's described as an actual lived experience, a state of being that you embody, that you live and breathe every day.
And that brings us to the final, really profound takeaway here, where this whole metaphor we've been using kind of collapses in on itself in the most beautiful way possible.
Because in the end, you realize this entire journey was never really about arriving somewhere.
It was always simply about acceptance. It was never about trying to find some other better shore across a great divide.
It was about waking up to the fact that you were never separate from it in the first place. There was no river to cross. All the shores are and always have been one.
So let's bring this all back to you, because this isn't just abstract philosophy, it's a practice. When you look at your own life, at your own fixed beliefs, at the edges of your own comfort zone, what river are you ready to cross?